everyone. So we had a bit of a mix-up with hosts on this one, and I know all of you are getting a little impatient in the chat, so I'm just gonna badly, badly introduce our next guest, which is fine because I absolutely hate her. Kryssi is a longtime activist who is going to be here to talk to you about how to activism properly. And I know that's a terrible introduction, but I don't have the sheets that everyone else did. Kryssi, what's up?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, no sound. Oh no. Just a second. We will get this fixed. She's a professional podcaster. She'll fix this.
You can't hear me? Oh my gosh.
Oh, you know what? I know why there's no sound. Because my thing plugged it unplugged. It's not you. I'm sorry. One moment.
Aren't you
There
a
we go.
professional? You're a professional podcaster. What's wrong with you? This is why my podcast is better than yours.
Oh, I think you guys just stole our gimmick.
Okay, two hot bitches talking shit.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you're totally a hot bitch, right?
I mean, everyone else on the show is. All right, so there you go. This is Kryssi. She's going to talk to you, and I'm going to go away. So you guys have fun.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like it's just us. No hosts. That's okay. We can do this without a host. Again, my name is Kryssi Wichers. I have been an activist for about 16 years. I have worked within the Libertarian Party, in the environmental movement, in the health food movement. So I got my start back in 2008 with the anti-Iraq and anti-war marches. Went on to work for Ron Paul for 4 years, and then started working with the Occupy movement. I organized Occupy Portland. We had over 2,500 people camp out for 5 weeks. We were able to get a lot done, oddly enough. The Occupy movement was kind of decentralized. Each state kind of took their own and ran with it. So after that, I got pretty involved in the March Against Monsanto movement. It was against not only GMOs, but glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup. And from there, I've been working with the Libertarian Party. Um, I ran for office in 2018 for state representative. And so that's just a little bit of my background. So, kind of what I wanted to talk about is activism. When people think activism, they think standing out on the corner with a sign, right? That is activism, that's protesting, but it's so much more than that. Um, a protest, a demonstration like that, where you're holding signs, you're marching, you're, outside of the state house, or you're outside of, whatever places whatever place you're protesting, you stand with signs. That's the first kind of step. After that, after these like-minded individuals get together, that's when you get into the fun stuff. So I definitely wanted to bring up free market activism. This is stuff that actually works. Not much gets done when you're standing on the corner with a sign. So examples of this. Back when we did Occupy Portland, we wanted to make a real difference. They had passed a law in Portland, an anti-camping ordinance, and they made it illegal to camp outside. Anywhere that was public or could be within a certain amount of feet in front of a business. So that made it really hard for people who were homeless to not get arrested, go to jail. Maybe they have a job, they're not able to get back to their job because of this ordinance. And that's ridiculous. You're basically making being homeless illegal. You're already going after a a marginalized group. It's ridiculous. So at Occupy, what we did is we went to a private business owner who owned an empty lot in downtown Portland, and we asked if we could purchase it. We raised a lot of money during Occupy, and we wanted to use it for good. So we purchased this land, and we set up a homeless camp. So we made it so it was safe. We had volunteers that would stay there, and it's actually still going on today. Uh, the homeless pay $1 to get in. It helps maintain the cleanliness. It helps pay the fees for the lot, and that actually worked. Until a bunch of businesses around got upset. They're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a homeless camp in the middle of downtown Portland." So they decided to go all up in arms. And so, what did the city have to do? Because there was no place for these people to go, they had to repeal that law. So, not only did they repeal that law, but we ended up suing and winning that lot. So, we were able to still do that. So, both, we got two things done with just one action. And that's, a more minor localized example. What we did with March Against Monsanto, the main goal of that movement was to label genetically modified foods. And instead of, I'm a libertarian. I don't believe in mandates. I don't believe the government should have to get involved. And if the government's involved, who would be in charge of labeling? The FDA. The FDA is infiltrated with Monsanto execs. What is the point of having them in charge of labeling? So instead of going that route and asking for the government to label, we decided to then use the free market. We had over 3 million likes on Facebook at one point. Who do you think would be the main demographic that we're going after with these targeted, protests? Obviously, moms buy food. Moms care about what they're feeding their children. So a lot of these moms were stay-at-home moms, so it was really easy to talk them into having targeted boycotts on different companies to get them to label GMOs. After about 2 years of doing this, we targeted Cheerios, we targeted Del Monte, we targeted Similac formula, things that we feed our children. And within a year of doing that, all of those companies started labeling. A lot of them actually started taking GMOs out. And through all of this, a new organization came up called the Non-GMO Project Verified, or Non-GMO Verified Project. What they do is it's a free market labeling initiative. Now it's independently run, so there's no FDA collusion that you have to worry about. And they've gained a lot of trust of consumers over the years. So they actually label these foods for us. So that's a way to use the free market to, for activism. Another example of that would be what we encourage people to do: buy stocks, buy shares in these companies, and you can go to these shareholder meetings and you have a voice. When people say vote with your wallet, they don't mean just buying products and not buying products, but actually put your money towards it. These people don't care that we're standing outside their headquarters with signs. They really don't. What they care about is their pocketbook. So that's where we hit them, where it hurts, right? Where they get their money from. Why am I against GMOs? Okay, so I'll answer this question before we move on, because this isn't a fun one. So I'm not inherently against GMOs. I think the GM rice is a really good idea. It helps a lot of people who are malnourished be able to have better vision. There's plenty of good examples of GMOs. However, that's not the majority of what's grown in this country. In this country, the majority of GM products, or GM crops grown, are either pesticide producing or herbicide resistant. And what that means is on the pesticide producing, that means the insecticide's grown on the inside, right? So that's what we're eating. Now, I honestly think the worst one is the herbicide resistant crops. Now, those are made to be sprayed directly with Roundup. You don't, and we've sprayed Roundup before. Everyone's used weed killers, right? When we spray, it kills everything. And we're spraying that directly on our food. Now, this isn't just some one-off, and who knows if it really hurts you. There's plenty of studies, there's plenty of lawsuits now showing that glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup that's being sprayed directly on the crops, the main ingredient, glyphosate, is actually killing people. It's giving people non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's causing a whole host of other issues. And that's why Monsanto has had to pay out millions of dollars, because they knew this was happening. Internal memos came out showing that this was happening. And so when the majority of the GM products in the United States is being sprayed with glyphosate, there's a problem with those GM products. Now, those crops include soybeans and corn. What is in everything in the grocery store? Just about. I mean, you have high fructose corn syrup, you have soybean oil, you have all of these different products that contain GMOs, right? So maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to eat it anyway. That's fine. That's totally fine. That's your right. You can eat whatever you want. The problem we were having though is that these were being hidden. And there are consumers who they don't want to eat GMOs. But how are they to know if it's in there if it's not labeled, right? And now all of these food companies came together and said, we don't want to label, it costs too much money. Okay, labels change consistently for the purpose of marketing, right? We were just asking for a few words. Contains GMOs. That's it. So why wouldn't they want to label? Why would they spend millions of dollars to fight labeling? Because they don't want us to know. We have rights as consumers to know what we're ingesting. And if something, especially if something is dangerous and people are dying because they're eating this specific GMO, then they have the right to know before they feed that to their children. And you have the right to still buy it. You can still buy it. It can still be in the grocery store. No one's asking for them to not be available for all of us to eat. We just want to know first. And I don't think that that's a problem. Now, and of course, we can get back to Monsanto and why Monsanto sucks specifically. They're the makers of these two types of GM products, the pesticide producing and herbicide resistant. They've also made PCBs, DDT, Agent Orange, and there's a really fun, if you do a Venn diagram of all of those products, they have like a few things in common, right? One, that they've killed people, and two, they've been banned. And so when this company is still making stuff like this, you get a little, wary. And then you go into their internal memos. Luckily, FOIA requests and subpoenas got all of this information. Come to find out they knew that glyphosate and GM products were killing people and they didn't care. And they kept doing it. So that's why they're getting sued. And that's why they're paying out millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. So, and I mean, that's just the health problems. That's not including the practice of monocropping, because farmers aren't able to rotate their crops as easily because of what the GM seeds do to the fields, and they'd have no incentive to anymore. There's the problem of taking advantage of people by signing these outrageous contracts and, not even allowing these farmers to replant their seeds. Not that they could anyway, because a lot of them aren't able to, you're not able to replant them. So, and then the fun part about Monsanto again is just recently they merged with Bayer. That's right. The pharmaceutical company. So now Bayer, Monsanto, makes our food and they make our medicine. And if you think that's fine, then that's totally awesome. So, I mean, I'm go ahead and eat them all you want. However, I should have the right to choose not to eat GMOs. I should have the right to choose if my family eats them. So again, we didn't ask the government for a label. The funny part is the government, Debbie Stabenow and Mike Pompeo, actually, when he was still a senator, they co-sponsored a bill to ban states from labeling GMOs. That's how scared of everything they were. So it's not even legal for states to label GMOs. So we went the free market way. We asked companies to either remove or label. And a lot of companies did remove, and what companies didn't, labeled. And we were fine with that. Because, it's hard to avoid GMOs all of the time. But if I know that that's what I'm eating, then I'm fine with that. I'm a consumer. I have the right to be informed. So yeah. So that's my long answer to why I was a part of March Against Monsanto and have been, and again, not inherently against GMOs, but against the main GMOs that are grown here in the United States. Also, a fun mention is they are banned in multiple countries. So that's kind of weird, right? Okay, funny. Okay. Funny comment. However, you guys, it's it's just common sense. Everyone should be able to make an informed decision, right? So, through my activism with March Against Monsanto, I've been arrested a few times. I got arrested in the city of Ann Arbor for organizing a March Against Monsanto protest. We had over 2,000 people attend, and we applied for a permit about 3 months ahead of time. Now, they decided that last minute not to approve our protest. What was I supposed to tell 2,000 people? The government said no. That's how you get 4,000 people. So I just didn't say anything. We had our protest. Everything was great. We're marching about healthy food. Again, these kind of demonstrations are to bring people together, to get like-minded people in the same area so you can develop plans on moving forward. While we were there, we had people speaking with a megaphone. And because of the megaphone, I got arrested for unlawful use of amplified sound. And I got to go to jail for 9 hours until the protesters actually, the rest of the protesters came down and bailed me out. So we were able to actually take that opportunity and then sue the city of Ann Arbor for unlawful detention. And we ended up winning the right to protest without a permit. So the previous requirements where you had to pay about $1,200, you had to get $500,000 in event insurance. It was pretty outrageous. Even though we went through those steps, they were still able to deny it. And why do I need a permit to protest? So we were able to get that handled. And now you can do that in the city of Ann Arbor without a permit. With Occupy, I was arrested by the federal government because we were on federal land. Homeland Security came. That one was really fun, but luckily all of that got dropped too because again, I don't need a permit to exercise my right. Someone says I don't have a right to be informed. I absolutely do. Why wouldn't I have the right to be informed of what I'm putting into my body? That doesn't even make any sense. So, to continue down that route, now I'm in the Libertarian Party. The part of taxation is theft, right? Is that taxation is theft. So I believe that 100%. And joining the Libertarian Party, we've been able to kind of use it as a vehicle to deliver this message. That's why I'm really glad to see Dan doing this, Dan Berman, as he's running for president, using his platform to be able to bring that message to people. That's a form of activism. What he does is a form of activism, and it definitely works.